Jackson Public Information Officer, Aaron Dimick. Aaron.
Hello, Bart.
Good to see you. Welcome.
Yes, happy to be here.
Welcome back. Busy summer in Jackson. We've got a lot going on. First up, though, we've got a city council meeting tonight.
That's right.
What's the agenda look like for tonight?
I looked at the agenda and looks to be one of our maybe more low impact meetings.
Okay.
I guess maybe someone coming from me who's involved in the day-to-day of the city. We do have a lot of important things that are coming up, but I wouldn't say there's any one big thing that the council is going to be tackling tonight. My understanding is just kind of approving some community events that are coming up, also kind of doing some cleanup work, final approvals on some additions to the budget, and also some construction contracts that we have.
Yeah, I noticed, as you did, not a lot of earth-shattering agenda items, but there are a few, I think, change orders or construction project modifications.
Yeah. I know one is having to do with some of the streets we have around downtown as far as doing some curb work or some just changes to lighting. Like I know they're going to be approving a contract or voting on approving a contract for lighting on Cooper Street. So that's going to be moving forward. So just kind of a lot of projects kind of moving forward, but they kind of have to get that approval and consideration from the council first.
And speaking of lighting, just the other day I noticed on the Martin Luther King Equality Trail there are lights along. Is it the whole stretch or just certain parts of it?
Yeah, I was actually in that area not too long ago. I live a couple blocks away from there myself. So I know I have seen new lights at the trail and Prospect. I know there has been an effort to light up the entire part of the trail that the city controls. So those efforts are ongoing. So that's great to see. Yeah,
I saw them from Jackson Street. So I know around the King Center, that was probably the first spot.
Yep.
But I think the goal is to have the whole thing lit.
Yeah, even through where the trail goes by Parkside, middle school at Parkside, it's very dark there at night.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that people are enjoying our trail safely. So that's why lighting has become a priority there.
Awesome. All right, so Parkside, you can't get there.
It is closed off.
Closed with a capital K.
Yeah.
And that is probably the most high impact project going on right now.
Sure, yeah, we have a lot of resurfacings going on, a lot of smaller projects, but this is probably the biggest project of our summer construction season is our 4th Street project. So what we're looking at is from Audubon Boulevard in the lower Essex Heights area all the way to Ellis Sharp Park and the intersection where Stonewall, 4th, and Horton come together. All of that is closed down. People can get to businesses and they can get to their homes, but it's closed to through traffic. So obviously that's a major gateway to the city, and people are finding their way around there. But that is the picture you're looking at right now. That is the intersection right by 4th, Stonewall, and Horton, where it comes together in front of the museum. What's happening there is crews are realigning the intersection just because it hadn't been updated in almost 50 years. So it's going to be more of a simple T intersection. So it's going to be kind of easier to get around there. There's also going to be more pedestrian access. So we have that new trail on the west side of the park. That's now going to be connected to the east side of the park through the museum through there. So greater pedestrian access for people who are walking, running, and biking through there.
How about this weather? Has the amount of rain that we've been getting slowed any of the projects down?
Not to my knowledge of any substantial delays. I think when the rain is falling, they do have to delay or maybe take a day off. But as far as I know, things are on schedule, and we have even more projects that are going to be starting later here in the summer.
Yeah, another area, another neighborhood is Essex Heights.
Yeah.
I think that the whole area is under construction, isn't it?
Right now, we just have an area along Oak Ridge. That Oak Ridge and West, and then Broadcrest. So that section of Essex Heights is under construction. What's happening there is water main replacement. A lot of that is original water mains from the 20s. So of course, all that has to be updated. And also the city is working towards complying with the state's lead and copper rule. So we have to check all of our lead service lines. So that is the line that goes from the water main to homes. Have to make sure it's not lead, and if it is lead, then we have to replace it. And that has to happen at every home, every business in the city limits over the next 20 years or so. So we are starting with complying with that right now. So some of that work is ongoing.
And the nice thing about that is that the homeowner doesn't have the expense if lead pipes have to be replaced coming into the house. That's part of the project.
That's right. But that cost could be passed on to our water customers in like a water rate increase. And the council is still figuring out right now how that is going to look, how we can help lessen that impact, because we would be looking at our water rate increase. But a lot of that is just preliminary right now. There's still a lot of things going on, and the council is still trying to get more information. We have people in the DPW who are still kind of crunching the numbers and coming up with different scenarios. So I think the council will be taking that under consideration in the coming months as to what we're going to do to soften the impact for people, because we never want to increase water rates, but this is something that we're going to have to do because it's mandated by the state.
Yeah, and I think a number of communities are going to the state and
Right.
asking for some relief, because it's essentially an unfunded mandate.
Right.
And it's
Right.
not just Jackson. Every community has to deal with this.
Right, so we're asking the state, seeing if we can delay it. I believe that it's a 20 or 25-year timeline. We're asking to see if we can do it in 30, because we're talking about, digging up access to every home and business in the city. And, a city the size of Jackson, over 30,000 people, that it will take a considerable amount of effort. So we're still in the planning stages as to how we're going to handle that.
Yeah, to be continued.
Yes.
Well, I think it's unprecedented. In the last month, we've had 3 apartment building projects.
Yes.
All begin in downtown. Actually, four housing projects begin
Right.
downtown in just the last month.
The
It's amazing.
skyline is really changing. I think a year from now, we're really going to see that when some of these projects are close to completion or starting to be completed. So right now, actually in full construction, in full swing, that is the 200 development. Yep, there it is. That is taken from the top floor of City Hall. So that is the 200 development right there. We're talking about a 4-story building with, I believe, 86 market rate units. And I believe also the plan is to have some retail space on the bottom. So that is under construction right now. And then right there is the Francis Senior Loft. So this is happening on MLK between East Franklin and East Wesley Street, kind of by St. Mary's. And this is going to be apartment living for senior citizens, so they can take advantage of our downtown living boom as well. I believe that's also going to be a 4-story, dozens of units there. I don't recall the exact figure of how many units are going to be there, but the goal there is to provide housing for senior citizens downtown. So that's great.
And this project is affordable housing,
Correct.
as is this project.
Yeah, so this is, that was
that's affordable housing.
Yeah.
For seniors.
Yeah, well, that's the affordable housing for seniors. But the previous picture was the Albert Kahn Apartments, and that is going to be for low to moderate income individuals. I think we're looking at 70 units there. And as you can see, this is the old Citizen Patriot building, and then the former Bethel site. So my understanding is where you see the parking lot there, we have fencing up all the way around there, and that project is going to be starting later this month. And so yeah, it's going to be another big development. They're going to repurpose the SitPat building and then build a huge addition on the back where you see that parking lot.
Yeah, and I think you misspoke, because I think it's 270 apartments. Yeah. It's a huge.
Yeah.
And Bethel's, which is closing, is the building on the street with the dumpster right in front of it.
Yep.
And that building, it turns out, the developers are going to save that building.
Yes.
And they are going to use it for offices. And then the building that's to the right, that building will be raised, but they are going to build a building similar in look to that. So
yes.
they want to maintain a traditional downtown storefront,
right.
all along that block.
Yeah, my understanding is that the Bethel building is a historic structure that we have. It's probably a lot older than it looks, but we want to make sure that that is saved and our history is preserved, with also bring in the next generation of buildings as well.
Yeah. And no one actually will be, I don't believe anybody will actually be living in any of those buildings that exist. The SitPat building, I think, is going to be used for community space.
Right.
And the apartments that will be all surrounding those 4 buildings, and there will be frontage on Cortland, Jackson, and Washington.
It's a big project, and we're excited to offer some downtown living for people who are of a low to moderate income. because a lot of what has been going up is more market rate. So people who might be of a slightly higher income could afford it. But we want to make sure that our downtown living is affordable for everyone.
Yeah, the 200 and Lofts on Louis are market rate, and I think they have not set the rental rates for the 200,
Right.
but they've discussed the range of 800 to 1200, and I think the Lofts on Louis are 900 to 1200.
Yeah.
Interesting story in Cranes, Detroit today about affordable housing crisis in Ann Arbor right now.
Right.
Anyone that's been to Ann Arbor, you've seen the cranes, you've seen the construction that's going on. It's unbelievable. But what's not happening is affordable housing, and it's being called a crisis in Ann Arbor.
Right.
And it's nice to see that Jackson is I guess getting ahead
Right.
of what could be a future problem by making sure there's affordable housing that's being built.
Right, and over the past 5 years, the city has been working toward taking down some unsafe housing. We had our big demolition program. So, the past 5 years has been about taking down some of the city, and now we're really seeing that build up again and providing safe, affordable housing for people. So it's really exciting.
Yeah. And some of those areas where some of those old houses have been torn down are going to be built on, and
Right.
you were there last week.
That's right, with the Habitat project. The city is working with Habitat for Humanity on a big project. It's coming together with the help of the city and Community Action Agency and Habitat for Humanity to build some townhomes, I believe, on East Franklin. There are going to be 2 townhome buildings with 5 units each. And on the other side of that, single-family homes, all in the same block there in Partnership Park, so just south of downtown Jackson. So that's also going to be taking shape over the next year. So, like I said, the skyline is going to be changing.
Awesome. As we've said, it's going to be nice when it's done.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's really, these are fast track.
Oh, yeah.
By next year, by this time next year, there may be people living in some of those buildings that we
Yep.
talked about.
I think when you start seeing cranes in the sky, the construction really steps on the gas, because a lot of these projects are years in the making. I know when I was a reporter for WLNS, I covered a lot of these projects. Now they're finally getting off the ground, so that is neat to see.
And there's more to come, because there's a project that's across from Flagstar that's housing.
Yes.
Yep. And then the Hayes. Something is eventually going to happen with that.
Yes. I don't know too much about that, but I know efforts are continuing to revitalize that and make that the jewel of downtown Jackson again.
Well, one thing you'll be working on is a brand new website for the city of Jackson.
That's right. We are going to be getting a new website. Essentially what it is, it's going to be our same website, but we're working with our web vendor to make sure it has more functionality, easier to find information, make sure it has lots of nice clean imagery, and because really the goal here is to make our website easier for people to use. And the first step of that is providing more imagery for the website. So what I've been busy doing over the past couple weeks is refreshing some of our inventory of photos. That's one that I took last week that shows the skyline. So I've just been out and about in the community, just getting fresh images of Jackson for people in the city to look at. But maybe if they're on the website and they're looking for learn more about Jackson, they can see some of the best of our community as well. And that's a picture I snapped over at Ellis Sharp Park on Sunday. So
Nice.
that's a really fun picture.
And Aaron potentially saved the city and us, taxpayers, a lot of money, because Aaron was going through the original website contract
Right.
and discovered that they would do a rebuild for free, right?
That's correct. So this is going to be a free rebuild. We're not going to be paying for anything beyond the time that I spend on making sure that it gets rolling. But it's going to be a totally free redesign. It's in our contract with our web vendor. So we're really excited to get that going. We've heard a lot of complaints about the website, that it's hard to find information, or there's some pages that don't work, or there's a lot of outdated information. And really, I don't think our website has been redesigned since 2011, 2012. A lot has happened in there since web design. So we want to make sure that we have a nice modern website for our residents here to use, but also people who are looking to maybe move to Jackson, do business in Jackson, for them to use as well.
And one other note about the city council meetings, Aaron and I and Patrick Birch have been working on improvements to the city council broadcast along with our production team here at JTV, Austin and Teague. And there are some fixes in the works. Stay tuned.
Yes, yeah, we want to make sure that people have access to what goes on at the city council if they can't make that, if they can't make the meeting. So part of that is making sure they can actually see it and they can actually hear it. So we're working through the technical difficulties and hope to work out some fixes. Some fixes are in the works, but also looking at the next generation of how we can kind of get this technology of broadcasting the council meetings into the 21st century. Because, once again, I believe this system is from 2002. A lot has happened in the 17 years since that was put in. So we're looking at things like HD video, better audio, and live streaming, whether it's live streaming to our website or Facebook, because we know not everyone has access to TV or cable anymore. So it's really about getting the access of the city's business to our residents. So that is something that should be taking shape, hopefully, over the next year.
Yes, and it's, as Aaron said, it's the age of the equipment that's the primary factor in all
Right.
the issues. 2002, it's equipment the city's owned and installed when the city hall renovation was complete, and it's been that long. So,
Right.
all right, we'll look forward to that.
Yes.
Appreciate all the updates.
Yes, thanks for having me.
From the City of Jackson Public Information Officer, Aaron Dimick. Lots more coming up on today's show.